Alright, so I have uploaded the study guide for the midterm. This is the video containing the solutions for that. So this video is based on the telco customer churn dataset in Kaggle. We've already worked with this dataset, but if you've forgotten, you add it by clicking Add Data over here on the right. We'll search for telco customer churn. And we see here, I have to scroll a little bit, but there it is. You'll add it to your session, and it'll come in and refresh your session. If you can't remember how to upload notebooks, you just go to kaggle.com, you log in, and go to kernels, create a new kernel, create a notebook, and it'll open up a new notebook, and you just click the little cloud upload button whenever it loads, which apparently will be a minute. I'm just going to flip back over here. You upload your notebook with this upload right here. So you can see here, you just click one, you click upload, and it uploads it. And then you'll be in the exact same place I am right now. All right, so key skills for the midterm. The midterm will primarily cover pandas, so 7 of the 9 questions are on pandas. We'll have a little content on scikit-learn, so the last 2 are scikit-learn questions. The kinds of things you should be comfortable doing in pandas are filtering data based on column values, grouping data and performing different operations, so grouping on a column and summing it, or taking the mean of it, or standard deviation, or something like that. Sorting data, so sorting it, for example, in descending order based on a certain column. Filtering based on multiple columns, so we'll review that here in a minute. Performing calculations based on 2 columns, so adding 2 together, subtracting them, dividing them, and creating a new column based on the output of that. And then basic plotting, and we've seen that in the pandas section, but that's like creating a line chart or a bar chart based on some values. For scikit-learn, you'll need to scale a data set, split it, fit a model, and then evaluate its accuracy. So let's review these. So here, this is the cell we always get with Kaggle. I am loading the data, which I'll do for you already, and I'm dropping one of the columns that's not very useful. I am preparing the data for the machine learning questions, so you will not have to do anything with continuous or categorical data. I've already selected those. I've already done all of the imputing for the missing values. I've already done the label encoding, the one-hot encoding. And I'm giving you a data set of X and Y. So X are your features and Y is your label. And so I would not expect you to have done any of this, and it will be very similar. This will be very similar to how you'll get the data for the midterm, except obviously that I've already said that you'll get the data and then need to scale the X values. You'll get an X, you'll get a Y. You don't have to worry about any imputing or categorical or continuous kind of stuff. I'll take care of that for you. I'm doing a little more pre-processing right here. So if you remember this data set, it actually had a lot of yeses and nos. So I had a lot of yes for partner, no, yes, no, and that made it much harder to do counting and things like that we want to do with this data set. So in this case, I've turned all the yeses to ones and all the nos to 0. So in this case, this person was not a senior citizen, does have a partner, does not have dependents, does not have phone service, no online security, and does have online backup. And so this will make it a lot easier for us to do like counts of customers and things like that. So in this case, if this was the midterm, I would have given you the data up to here. So you would have started answering questions right here at this cell and wouldn't have had to do any of the stuff above. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by answering the first question. So the first question is create a new data set by filtering the gender column to only contain records with female customers. And so you can see what I'm doing here is I'm doing the pound sign to add a comment, and I'm pasting in the question. I'm doing this so it's obvious both to me and, well, to me later when I create it, which question you're working on at any point. It also reduces how much scrolling you have to do. So let's go ahead and answer the question. I need to create a new data set by filtering the gender column to only have records with female customers. So actually in this case you can see female actually needs an uppercase F because Python is case sensitive. And if I don't do that, we won't, see, then in that case I actually assigned it back over. So I got to go back up here and run this again. Let's run all the way back down here. And so we check with 2 equal signs. There we go. All right, so data, gender, equals female, true, false. All right, so now I need to actually filter the data set with this. So here we get all of the records where the gender is female. Right, okay, and so now I need to create a new data set. So let's do female customers equals, and then let's do that. So that way I'm creating a new data set where the gender column equals female, and I'm displaying that data set. So here we go, looks good. So number 1 is done. All right, so let's do the same for number 2. Let's go ahead and select that, copy it, and create a comment. And do this. All right, so what I need to do for this one is I need to say, what is the row count or record count? So the number of each of these rows right here. This is a row, this is a row, this is a row. Grouped both by contract and then payment method. Group on both columns at once. So let's do group by, and let's do contract. And let's, since we need the row or the record count, that's actually the size function right here. And so this is the number of rows that are month to month, 1 year or 2 year contracts. But the requirement was that I group both on contract and payment method. So what I need to do is I actually need to create a list in here, just like that. So I've added the brackets, and I'm going to put a comma, payment method. And so now what I get is I get a group both by contract first, you see here over on the far left, and then payment method second. And the size gives me the number of rows that I have for each of these. So it's contract, payment method, and then the count of each rows. Now I could have done this a slightly different way. So I could have done this by adding a new column if I wanted, cust count, and I set that equal to 1. So I have a new column that's all 1 for every record. And then I could do data.group by and the exact same, where I do contract, and then I do payment method, and then I could actually sum this. You see here I get a bunch of records back, so what I also need to do is filter that. And so this is the exact same. This would give me just as many points, but I would have had to have filtered this right here, just like I did, but I could use this sum instead. You can see here the size function is a little bit shorter, right? I didn't have to add a new column, I didn't have to do any filtering, but you can do this either way if you wanted to. All right, so let's work on the third question right here. So question 3. What is the total or sum for the monthly charges column? So if I take this column right here, so you see I have a bunch of numbers, so I want to take the sum of it, and that's about it. It's that easy. So this is the sum of the monthly charges column. I could have also done it this way, so I have numpy imported. I could do numpy.sum. I could have done it that way, and you see it's the exact same answer. Again, this way is obviously a little bit easier. The dot sum, again, just like we're used to, I could take the mean if that had asked for it, or the standard deviation, or any of these different functions right here. In this case, I just need the sum, but I have a number of different options if I need to perform a different calculation type. All right, question 4. List the contract types in descending order by the total monthly charges. In descending order. All right. I don't think I need descending order twice, but that's fine. Let's go ahead and comment 4 right there. We go. All right. So data contract. Great. Okay. I see that I have a number of different contracts. So what I want to do is I want to group by the contract. Group by contract. Right, sum, because I want a total. So I get sums for all of these different columns. What I really want is this monthly charges though. So I'm going to sort values. All right, and now I get it sorted by monthly charges, but you can see this is in ascending order. Ascending equals false. Yep, there we go, looks good. And most of the questions on the midterm will ask you to only return one column. So in this case, I'm going to actually just go ahead and filter it down. So when in doubt, only return the columns that are relevant to the question. So here I have grouped by contract. I have summed all of the values. I have sorted it by monthly charges in descending order. And then I selected out the monthly charges column. So that's all I brought in here. All right, so that's number 4. Number 5, let's copy this, let's bring it down, comment, number 5. All right, so I need to filter the data set, filter to only show records where the customer had both paperless billing and device protection. How many customers had both of these? Okay, all right, so I want to say data, and I could filter to, we remember that a 1 is true, so I would filter it just like this, and so these customers had paperless billing. So this right here only shows customers that did have paperless billing. All right, so I have 2 ways I could do this. So I could either create a new data set, paperless customers equals, and so now this new data set only has paperless customers in it. Now I could further filter this to only show records where device protection was also true. And now this will only be customers that had device protection, all ones, and had paperless billing. How many customers meet both of those requirements? So I could create that data set right there. And so I have a data set for paperless customers. I could do the dot size. Oops. Dot size. So here I have filtered, I've created a new data set by filtering paperless billing equals 1. So this data set only has paperless billing customers. And then I went and I filtered it again to only have customers where device protection equals 1. And then I did the dot size, and you see I started by trying to put the parentheses on there. It didn't like that. But basically I have 33,705 paperless customers. Now I could have also done that this way. I could have gone data, actually let's put this in parentheses, data, and then I could do this right here. Let's just copy this. So I could have done it where data filtered by that, and device protection right there, data, device protection equals 1. And now, so here what I'm doing is I'm filtering data, and I'm doing it with paperless billing equals 1 in parentheses, using the and sign, with the other filtering clause, device protection equals 1, also in parentheses, and sorting it. And you can see here I have the exact same thing, device protection all ones, paperless billings all 1. And I could just do, oops, I could just do the dot size right there. And so you see here, this one line is the exact same as these 3. You could do this either way. These are both correct. The things to keep in mind when you're filtering on multiple columns in one line is you need to put these filters in parentheses and use the and. This right here would be the or, and that also works. But you see here I get a different answer because in this case these are all the customers that have paperless billing or device protection, not necessarily those that have both. Anyway, so you can filter it either way. You can either do a filter, create a new data set, do another filter, and add back to that data set, right? I've filtered the data set even further down, or you could do both in one line, but you just have to remember the slight nuances where you have to have parentheses, the ampersand, and parentheses. And then the dot size is how I figured out how many customers. This again is how many records meet those requirements. Okay, let's go all the way back up. filter. All right, let's do create a new column type right here. Create a new column by multiplying monthly charges by tenure and sort the data set in descending order by this new column. So what I need to do is I need to take data, monthly charges, right there. Okay, so you can see I have number, data, tenure. So I've multiplied the two together. And so you can see here I've gotten a number of pieces of data back. So I'm going to create a new column called tenure and charges. There we go, tenure charges. And so what I'm doing here is I didn't already have a column called tenure charges, so this will create a new one, and it's equal to the monthly charges column times the tenure. And in this case I'm multiplying, but I could just as easily have added them, subtracted them, divided them, whatever. So in this case I'm multiplying one column against another, and I have a new column here all the way at the end called tenure charges. And you see here this customer has $28.95 monthly charges and has a tenure of 1, right? 34 times 56, 95 is $1,936.30. Okay, so now I have a new column where I multiplied monthly charges by tenure. Now I need to sort in descending order by this. So I need to sort values by the column I just created called tenure charges. All right, and so here I have sorted the data set by tenure charges. It's in ascending order. Ascending equals false. So I've sorted the data set by tenure charges right here. And so in this case it said sort the data set, so I'm not going to filter it back down. But if you wanted to, you could, and you would obviously do that by doing that right there. And so this is all of the tenure charges for each customer in descending order, only returning the tenure charges. In this case, it didn't. It said filter the data or sort the data set. So I'm going to leave it just like this. You could do it either way; it'd be acceptable. All right, moving on. I already did that one. Let's group the data both by partner and then dependents. Create a horizontal bar chart. And so here I've provided this plot kind equals bar h of the mean for the monthly charges. All right, so let's just start working on that one and we'll see where we get. All right, so I'm going to group the data by partner and then dependents. So this is grouping by two columns again. We've already done that. So let's do group by brackets because I'm doing two columns. And I need to do the mean. You see here of the mean, so dot mean. All right, so this is the mean for all of these different columns. So what I want to do is I can do this a couple of ways. So I could just select monthly charges here. So you see I have partner, I have dependents, I have monthly charges. If I plot it, I get that right there. Kind equals, and so here you can see it says kind equals bar h. And so you see here partner and dependents. So if they have a partner and dependents, their average monthly charge is 70. If they have a partner and no dependents, it's a little higher at 80. If they have dependents and no partner, it's the lowest. And then if they have neither, it's here. It looks like it's about the same. Looks like it's about the same if you have neither as if you have both. But it looks like people with a partner and no dependents, I guess that'd be dual income, no kids, is the highest, and one income, no kids is the lowest. So it makes some amount of sense. So let's make sure we got all the answers here. So group the data both by partner, then dependents. So I've grouped by partner, dependents. I create a horizontal bar chart of the mean. So I had to take the mean right there. There's my mean for monthly charges. So there's monthly charges. And then I created a horizontal bar chart. So I provided you this right here that you could have just copied and pasted in, right? Dot plot kind bar h. Now, if you chose not to filter on monthly charges like that, you could have done something like this instead, but you would have had to have specified you would have to specify that Looks like y didn't. Yeah. Right, there we go. Got that backwards. All right, so you could have done it this way if you didn't want to filter on monthly charges. So you would have said data.group by partner dependents, take the mean, and then plot. But in this case, you would have had to specify the y value, in this case, monthly charges. So this solution is probably the easiest to use and to remember. But this solution works, but again, you have to tell it which y value to use, because in this case, I didn't filter it down, right? Here it knows which y value to use, because there's only one column. In this case, there are a number of columns, and so as you saw whenever I got the syntax wrong there for a minute, it used all of them as y values. Okay, so that is actually all 7, I believe. Yep, right there, all 7. And so this is a pretty good exercise of the kinds of things you'll need to do for the midterm as far as pandas goes. Let's take